We'll start the regular council meeting for January 23rd. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Adoption of the minutes of January 9th, regular council, January 9th, special council meeting, and the December 12th, 2016 public hearing report on Quinpool Road. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Carlson. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Moving ahead. We have a resolution to adopt tonight's agenda, please. Councillor Boot, Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. To 4.0, we have no public or statutory hearings. 5, we have no delegations. The next 6.0 is an opportunity for public comment on items that are highlighted in the agenda, please. Anybody like to come forward for highlighted agenda items? Okay, we'll move on to my report. Through the next several months, staff will be compiling information for our 2017 financial plan for Council's consideration. This is always a difficult task as Council needs to meet all the district's operational costs, capital requests, debt servicing, as well as put aside dollars for certain reserves. Our asset management study is underway. The results of this study will assist us to determine the status of pipes in the ground, roads, electrical, and buildings. It is also a prerequisite for grant funding requests. We will be able to plan replacement and renovation over the next number of years. Receiving grants are not a given, as many communities are in line with just as much justification of need as the District of Summerland. We are currently waiting to hear the results of our funding request for the $3.2 million Flume project supplying water to our water treatment plant. We apply for grants wherever the criteria can be met. Communities must have the necessary funds set aside in appropriate reserves or have the ability to borrow if necessary in order to take advantage of funding options. As our industrial and business-based taxes are small compared to the residential, we raise approximately $80,000 with 1% property tax increase. This figure starts to put things in perspective when you realize the magnitude of the costs of infrastructure renewal. Communities with such a high proportion of residential taxes look for outside streams of income that are not necessarily from taxes. For example, our gravel extraction contract or a potential reduction in costs, such as moving to solar energy. So that's my comment. CAO.
Thank you. A number of the issues or items that we're dealing with that staff is highly involved in right now, the budget, the PRV number 10 water shutdown and Banks Crescent are on the agenda for discussion tonight, and the climate change committee. So I'll leave those. Just a note, Council, that the Parks and Recreation Master Plan RFP will be posted by February 1st too. It's in its final draft of review, so it could go out later this week, but by February the 1st. And cultural, we're looking at bringing a report to council with some recommendations for terms of reference for the cultural committee and discussion at next council meeting. So Kaylee Hall has been working with us in getting that developed, and we'll leave it at that for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Corporate Officer, do we have anything brought forward under unfinished business?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to report out from the closed session of January the 9th, 2017. There was a motion made that Jules Hall be appointed as a member of the Advisory Planning Commission, and I need no motion from council, just to report out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to 10.1, informational items. Is there anything in the correspondence that council would like to bring up or bring forward? Hearing none. Okay, could we have a motion to receive, please? Councillor Carlson, thank you. Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Thank you. None opposed? It's carried. 10.2, committee minutes. We have the minutes from the Water Advisory and others below. Would someone, anything there that you would like to bring to our attention in those minutes? Okay, seeing none, would someone like to bring that or motion forward for receipt? Thank you. Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, Development Services Reports, 11.1. I guess that goes to our planner.
Director of Development Services.
Development Services Manager, Director.
That guy over there.
That guy over there. Sorry, Dean. I'm going to get used to it, okay.
Thank you, Mayor. As noted, we have a development variance permit application for 7612 Happy Valley Road. The subject application includes two variance components. One is a variance to the rear yard setback. The applicant is wishing to reduce the rear yard setback from the bylaw requirement of 7.5 meters down to 4.6 meters. The 4.6 meters aligns with the landscape buffer requirement when adjacent to ALR land, which is where that number came from. The second portion of variance that they're seeking is a variance to the building height. The way the bylaw is written, the third floor portion, which is a portion of bedroom on the back of the building, creates what we qualify as a third floor, as well as takes the height to the midpoint between peak and eave on the top portion versus the overall roof line. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, any questions, Council, of our Director of Development Services? Councillor Peak.
Yes, have we received any correspondence since the report was written?
Thank you. Through to you, Your Worship. No, we haven't received any.
Thank you very kind.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions? Okay, would someone like to bring a motion forward, please? Councillor Peak.
That the development variance permit application for Lot 2 DL 508 ODYD on Plan KAP 64229 at 7612 Happy Valley Road to vary the following sections of the zoning bylaw be approved. Section 9.1.6 II to reduce the rear yard setback from 7.5 to 4.6 meter, and Section 9.1.5E to increase the maximum height from the lesser of 9.5 meter or 2 stories to the lesser of 10.4 meter or 3 stories.
Thank you. You have a seconder? Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any discussion on this? Councillor Peak.
Yes, if I might, to the planner. So the front of the house has the what would be considered the first floor going up, so the basement area, but it's actually the walkout underneath the front or at the front.
That's correct, Your Worship.
And then the garage is at the back, and it's the part that's going to be away from or going to be at the decreased setback, plus the area towards Luminescence Winery.
So the driveway sweeps around from one side of the home to access to the garage, so correct. The garage is at the rear of the property, which is the accessory building, which is proposed to be set back at the 4.6 meters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Byer.
Councillor Carlson.
There's been a lot of discussion in the news about large homes on ALR land, especially down at the coast. Can you just confirm for me that this property, I'm assuming it has a house on it, this is a redevelop, but could you confirm and reassure us that it fits within the rules that Summerland has set out for the amount of land able to be used?
Mayor, this is an existing parcel. I'm not exactly sure at what point in time it was created, but it's an existing parcel that is undeveloped at this point and is proposed to be developed. So they're not creating a new parcel of land and not excluding it from the ALR to create it.
So
It was created at some point in the past, I'm not sure when.
it's already been severed in the whole
Yeah.
site. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Anybody else? So would Oh, sorry, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just a comment. I just think this is another one of those cases that we're dealing with a sloping lot, and we're dealing with the topography of the community, and these are the reasons these variances come before us, and so we have to find ways of accommodating them. Really, so it's just another case. We get these a lot, and so I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Would someone like to bring that forward?
Did.
Oh, it did? Okay, did we get a seconder? We did.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. All in favor? Motion carries, none opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, the Development Services Manager, Mr. Strachan, 11.2. Did you have a?
Just before Mr. Strachan presents the report, just a note that council received a printed copy of the report itself, and also by email received the report and the attachments that were referred to in the report, and that those attachments, which are the comment sheets received up to date, will be on the public website tomorrow. Go ahead, Mr. Strachan.
So the report before council relates to the OCP amendment and rezoning application for 13610 Banks Crescent. And the recommendations to staff relate to the public input sessions that were hosted last week on January 16th and January 19th. And what council has in their package is the comments, sheets, and letters that were received through those two sessions, as well as you'll see a resolution recommending the council schedule a second open house session, a second question and answer session on January 31st at 6:30 p.m. at the Center Stage Theatre. The reason being is there was a number of people that wished to ask questions at the question and answer session, but it ran past 9:30, so a decision was made to consider another session to allow for that. You'll note in the report the recommendation is if it goes long at that session, that people be asked to submit their questions in writing for council for further consideration. The second portion, we've talked about specifically the Freshwater Fisheries Society of BC hatchery, and the recommendation is to ask staff to meet with the applicants as well as representatives of that organization to review the concerns that they have at this point and identify opportunities that may be there to resolve those issues or find other solutions and report back to council on that specific item. And that item was selected out of a list, and you'll note in the report there's a number of factors and issues that still require some study and still require some information to report back to council on. But this particular one has some significant impacts, and we identified it as something that we recommend be addressed in advance of further consideration on the application.
Just to follow up, that was after discussion on what kind of recommendation we could bring forward to council to pursue it. It's a large magnitude of outstanding items that have questions to be answered and issues that from staff perspective aren't resolved yet. And it was thought that from hearing from the public and from our own work, that if the groundwater and the fisheries and the aquifer questions couldn't be answered, that council would want to reconsider or consider as we're moving along, and that it would be prudent to look at those issues before starting new studies and new work on the other outstanding issues. So that kind of doing it in a step-by-step process that you could reevaluate once we could report back to council any material that we were able to bring to you regarding those outstanding issues.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything more, Mr. Strachan?
That's fine.
Okay, so council, it's a matter of discussion now in terms of whether we're just looking at moving ahead with trying to understand the information, and I know I've got some unresolved concerns myself along the main issue. So think more or less speaking, that I would like to have some of those things addressed. Councillor Peak?
Yes, I certainly feel that the Freshwater Fisheries Society of BC with the fish hatchery is a pivotal part of any decision-making on this property, so I certainly feel that that's a very important piece to bring forward before we look at further reviews or
Yeah.
studies.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes?
At Thursday's Q&A, I think there were two types of questions that were being asked. There was one type that was really of a political or philosophical nature, matters of principle, which staff couldn't answer, and they'll never be able to answer. That has to be answered by us. That we have to discuss it, and I believe the CAO, whenever those questions were asked, the CAO replied that that was a question for council to consider in their deliberations. Okay, so there's one type of question. And then there's a second type of question that are more of a technical nature, which needs to be answered. Many of those weren't answered because we didn't have the answers, and those are going to require further studies and assessments and that sort of thing. So if we're talking about a step-by-step process, and I know the CEOs, I think many people left that meeting saying, what was the point of that? Because there was a lot of questions, but there weren't any answers. And so next time we have one of these things, we need answers. We need to be providing answers to people, not just accepting questions. And I know the CEOs told us that it's our legal duty to consider this application under the provincial legislation. But I mean, think for a minute, if this application was for a nuclear power station, would we be spending hundreds of staff hours poring over geotechnical reports, doing sewer service modeling, doing stormwater designs? I don't think so. We would be talking about these political and philosophical questions. Is this something we really want here? We wouldn't let the public get all worked up about it. We wouldn't lead on the developer to continue working on it. We would discuss these things, these questions. And this is what I want to discuss before first reading, and I still think there's an expectation out there that we discuss these things, that we don't keep putting it off, because we have to talk about it sooner or later. So, I think, I don't know what more to say. I don't see the point of even carrying on at all until we've established these questions. We've answered these questions.
So just to be clear on process, council at any time, council pass first reading. That is typically what you do to get an item on the table. It would be very difficult to suggest that there was fair consideration given to a project if you haven't put first reading on the table. But the reason that you don't do first and second reading on a large presentation like you would on a small one is that you do have an opportunity for further conversation before a public hearing. So at any time, council could pull to make a motion to do second reading. And then you could debate whether or not you want to, if you ask for second reading and you got a seconder, and you debated it at the time, and you felt in that discussion that you had enough information that you feel that you could say that you've done your duty and gave consideration. If that motion was defeated, that would be the end of the process. So staff is making recommendations, but that's all they are. Council has the opportunity at any time to introduce a motion. You can't debate it without a motion, but you can introduce a motion and debate it if that's what you choose to do.
Okay, then I feel I've heard enough from the community to discuss these political and philosophical questions, so I'd like to move second reading.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Councillor Barkle.
If this motion for second reading is defeated, does that take the process, does that stop the process altogether, or what happens?
That stops the process altogether.
Okay.
May I clarify that? So if the motion for second reading is defeated, we no longer have an application to discuss.
That's right.
And if it is supported to go on, then there will be continued review.
That's right. You would then you have to have a public hearing before third reading, So you could have whatever process you want in between, the same as the route that we are on now, but the next step of decision-making would be after a public hearing.
Okay, so frequently when we deal with these, any issue, one of the objectives is to get to public hearing, although we've had Q&As, et cetera, but it's quite normal to go, say, first and second, which we didn't go to second, but then to proceed to a public hearing, which is sort of the official part of the process.
It's certainly, speaking from my own experience and to introduce a potential bylaw and not to have public hearing is an unusual move, but it's not. It's certainly
Possible.
Certainly possible. If again, it comes down to each person, each councillor looking at whether or not you feel that the applicant has been given consideration and that you've kept an open mind to what the public would state, given the opportunity to state their opinions.
Councillor Barkwell.
Well, I feel that this is in no way comparable to a nuclear power station. I think it's a very typical application for a development which happens in our community every now and then, not as often as, say, Penticton and Kelowna and stuff, and this is the way it's always done. I feel that I don't have enough information. I think that the technical aspects have to be considered along with the philosophical aspects of the size and the location all together as a package and weighed together, and there's no way in the world that I would stop the process now without the complete information that we have been trying to accumulate.
Councillor Carlson and Councillor Peak.
I have a lot of thought on this, and I wasn't necessarily expecting to have to make any decision tonight, and I think that it isn't fair to ask us to, because there's a 5 megabyte package of information that I wasn't able to look at until about 25 minutes ago. It's public comment, it is questions, it is petitions, it's all of that information, and I personally believe that there is great value in having time to contemplate all of that. To Councillor Holmes's point about whether or not we want this in this town, I think that it's really important to recognize that there's been a lot of question raised about the location, the risk, the stability, the ag land, lots of different things being raised, lots of people suggesting, great idea, we could use something like this, it's in the wrong place. And so when it comes to whether or not Summerland needs or wants to have a development like this, I think that the Lark Group, the developer, the landowner, the province, people recognize that there is a demand for a facility such as this, and Summerland rated as one of the places where that would be ideal to be suited. And so I think that we need to understand that and find out what are those risks. Are they real risks? And not follow simple opinion or fake science, because there's too much of that in the world. And I want to actually get all of the facts before we just say no simply because there's some people that aren't happy with what has happened so far.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Peak.
Yes, I like Councillor Barkwell. I mean, hyperbole is a statement that this is a nuclear plant. It's not. It is the kind of development that comes to communities now and again. I think that this council needs time to look at the evaluation of the things that come forward. I think there's a good deal more to come forward to this council to have an opportunity to look at. Summerland is recognized as an extremely desirable place to retire to. In fact, we have a wonderful part of our population who do a maximum part of contribution as volunteers and as the people that help make the businesses work. I think that this council needs to look at what is possible within the realms of the reviews that are necessary for this development and this application to proceed. So I don't feel that I have the information yet to make a decision on that.
Anybody else? Counselor Booth, then Counselor Trainer.
Seeing as how everyone else is weighing in, I will as well. The reason I seconded this motion is because I think that this is fundamentally a development project is a development project. I think that this is the wrong location for this type of development. That is why I seconded the motion, because I would like to have this discussion. There are a lot of reasons. There's the agriculture reason, there's the environmental impact reason. I think everybody in this community and south of us know my real interest in food security in our region, and I'll talk a bit more about that when we have our councillor's report tonight. Simply getting this memo, which was dated today, that states the Freshwater Fisheries Society of BC, who owns and operates the fish hatchery, has expressed concerns in relation to potential impacts on their hatchery from the proposed development. To me, right there, although I am not privy to what those concerns are, and I know that we haven't had a further report on that, to me that indicates a potential risk and potentially a huge environmental impact. Never mind the fact that that's a wildlife corridor, it's being farmed right now. Further to that, the very first time that we heard from the LARC group, which was April of last year, I asked the question if this was going to be a development for seniors only. And the answer I got was, would you like to see it other than for seniors? And my answer was an emphatic yes. When I asked that same question when they were here in November, I was told, well, Building E hasn't been allocated. Perhaps we could put a daycare or maybe 2 daycares if the market here would provide for that, to have 2 daycares. Having a 55-plus development with the memory care, I think the memory care is something that's really needed. However, this is not what I meant when I was asking the question, is there going to be multi-ages building a community that has the scope of demographics and all kinds of other social aspects to it. And what I see now is that this isn't happening, and I think I've probably said enough. I think that seniors and 55 plus, fabulous. But I don't necessarily think that it is healthy. Interior Health has weighed in on this, and certainly the Provincial Healthy Communities Group has all kinds of guidelines, and to have seniors set off by themselves, even though 55 plus is not necessarily seniors, I don't think it's healthy. And I want to see a healthy, sustainable community in Summerland. Thank you.
Councillor Chen.
I have many concerns with this development as well. I have a long list of them here. I also have a concern with the way the developer has shared some of the information. For example, this pamphlet, it says the hatchery are entirely safe and will remain undisturbed. I have a problem with that because we don't know if that's true or not. But before I make a decision of this magnitude, which will affect our town either way for many years to come, I just want to make sure that I have all of the facts so that when I make my decision, I know exactly why I made it. I have my viewpoints right now, but I feel that I need a little bit more information and a little bit more time. Like Councillor Carlson said, we got a package with all the information at about 6:30 tonight, and I need more time to read that. And I would like to hear from a couple more people in our community, and then I can feel confident making my decision. So that's where I stand right now.
Okay, there's, pardon me?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who's, Councillor Holmes, sorry.
Okay, there's a number of issues which I'd like to talk about.
Go ahead.
One, the fact that it is a productive farmland. I realize it's not in the ALR, and I know there's an argument that the ALR is a good place to draw the line on when it comes to developing what agricultural land we should develop and what we shouldn't. But there's land within the ALR that has no little agricultural value, and we don't really have a problem seeing that developed, and nor should we. And we support those kind of applications to remove those types of lands from the LR when they go to the LC. But it works both ways, I think. If there's land outside the LR that doesn't have agricultural value, and there's land inside the LR that does, if you see what I mean. And I would say that there's even a greater responsibility on us, council, to protect that land that's not in the ALR, that agricultural land that's not in the ALR, because it's only our zoning that's protecting it right now. We're not making a recommendation.
Councillor Holmes, are we about to have a discussion back and forth at all, or we just got a number of points to go through? I'd like to respond to your
Sure.
agricultural part. Okay. Okay, initially, this piece of land has been in vineyard for quite a long time. Out of the 14.5 acres, 6 acres is vineyard. And the ALC has, the Land Commission considers parcels. In fact, back in 1972 or 73, when the Land Reserve came into being, they continued to assess properties throughout the province as to whether they should be or should not be in the Land Reserve. And so there was considerable petitions made by various groups throughout the province to determine what should be in and what shouldn't be. And it was an ongoing process, as you know. In Summerland, this particular area was deemed not, that particular area was deemed, as far as knowing the principles of the ALR and the ALC, as that's my work history for 30-odd years, and having done some on-the-ground work with ALC. Because this is surrounded by housing, surrounded by services, it's not one that the ALC would consider to put in the Land Reserve. It's entirely, up to the owner to decide whether he wants to. If he wishes to make an application to put in, he could, which is unusual, or he can make an application to pull it out. But in this case, it was never included, and that was due to the fact that the ALC made the determinations years ago as to what parcels would be in and what parcels would be out. And everything was subject to lobbying, as we all know, to remove certain parcels, which has been an ongoing, depending which way you look at it, problem or bonus, depending on your point of view, I guess. So I guess whether it's, yes, it's productive farmland if you regard, growing grapes is definitely farmland. It's not food production, but depending upon what your tastes are, I suppose you might consider it. But, the owners of the land, who are big vineyard owners in Naramata, have deemed this something that they want to choose an alternative for. So that's sort of my comment on that, because my history here standing up for the Land Reserve and the Land Commission on lands that are within the ALC is sound. I've got a very strong background in standing up for the Land Reserve and all it stands for in terms of food security, food proximity, etc. And that's why we fought so hard a few years ago to retain agricultural land in the community. So I would, we have a good history of trying to retain agricultural land that is within the Land Reserve. So anyway, that's sort of a response. You got a next point?
Yeah, I'm just saying that I don't think we should just dismiss it lightly. I think it is something that we ought to discuss, and because it is our decision, it's not the commission's decision. I also like to talk about the compatibility with the OCP. Now, according to the provincial government, the OCP provides the long-term vision for the community, right? And this is right from the website. It's a guide for elected officials, the public, and the development community in making decisions about development and services. Now, I understand the OCP. I understand it's a living document, that there's tinkering around the edges and smoothing out and whatnot. But, what I heard in the election 2 years ago, what I heard during the whole cultural planning process last year, and what I'm hearing now is basically stop trying to change the OCP and start doing what it says in it. And the OCP is supposed to be a guide for developers. And when a developer comes along and proposes something that's at odds with the OCP, then that's development leading planning. It's not planning leading development. And we're told in the staff report that came to us in November that this proposal is compatible with the OCP. And my reading of it, it's not. When I read things about compatible with adjoining uses, sensitive to surrounding characters of the neighborhood, that to me is not compatible. It just isn't. It just isn't. I just can't. When I read the OCP, I say, there's no compatibility here. This project, in the Lower Town development permit area, in the OCP, it says development should be designed in a manner where building massing is broken up to establish human scale and create an attractive appearance while complementing and reinforcing the character of Lower Town. Now, this concept of human scale is mentioned several times in the Lower Town strategy. And the principle of human scale, it's this idea of people interacting with their environments based on their own physical dimensions and limits. And it's a school of thought that there's an ideal size, that things can grow too big, or alternatively they can stay too small to function properly. And it's applied to everything from the size of countries, to government, to businesses, economies, even food systems, you name it. There's this human scale idea. In terms of the OCP, it applies to architecture, and as a scale, human scale, it can be measured. There's an ideal, vertical viewing angle of buildings, right? And humans. I don't want to get this into a lecture of architecture, but quite often human scale is violated on purpose. There's royal palaces and skyscrapers, they're built to what's called monumental scale, and that's to make them seem larger than life, right? And there's automotive scale. These are big box stores, shopping malls, and they're designed for the car in mind, not with people in mind. And I think Summerland has somehow miraculously escaped this automotive scale that kind of took over the 20th century, and it's the reason why many people live here. There are no enormous developments in this community, and the size of this development, it would be classified as an automotive scale, and at this scale, with its limited accessibility of where it's located, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, and I don't think it should be anywhere in Summerland because we don't have those buildings here. Summerland is developed on a human scale, and I think, we've got to keep it that way. If you can't have a political speech without quoting Winston Churchill, so he once said, "We shape our buildings, and thereafter our buildings shape us." So I think we need to keep that in mind.
So, okay, Councillor Holmes, can I weigh in a little
Yep,
bit since
go
we've
for
got a
it.
discussion going here? Okay, the OCP, granted, I agree with, there's many components of the OCP, especially the Lower Town iteration that was put together. But that particular Shaughnessy Springs area is mapped out in the OCP, having been agreed upon by consultations in the community that it be residential / seniors housing. Whether it's blocked out in the mapping as such. It wouldn't necessarily have thought of a situation like this, but when we look at other things that happened in Lower Town, for example, where the old cannery is, for example, that site was looked at as a multi-story condo development at one point, not too long, certainly in one of my terms, and there was great concern by folks precisely in the area that we're talking about, in Bristow and all the Latimer and all those areas there, because there was concern about sight lines that were going to be obscured by those buildings. And so that particular development, the recession hit it, like it hit a lot of things, but at the same time, the developer at that point changed his concept to actually create twin towers of, I think, about 5 stories or 6 stories at the time, to allow for sight lines to the lake. And so the sightlines aspect was definitely considered at that time, and there was certainly a lot of folks had a lot to say about what sort of buildings they wanted right on the waterfront. And throughout Summerland, we have the beauty of what I call topographical lifts and topographical depressions. There are areas in town where you could actually tuck a 10, 12-story building up against a mountainside, and I can think of one particular site around Giant's Head that currently has a cul-de-sac in it, but you could hide a 10-story building in there and you wouldn't see it. It wouldn't obscure anything, it would just be a viewscape. But in this case, what we have is a development of less scale than what was proposed for Wharton Street, for example, of 6 stories. Wharton Street was it was a 7-story potential development. And what we've got in this particular location is a topographical depression, whereas from the elevation, and I've checked it with our planner and my own GPS, at Bristow, you're 45 feet above the top of the buildings that might be settled down in the Bristow Valley. So in terms of sight lines being obstructed, no, it doesn't happen. And it depends where your perspective is, of course, but around it, yes. At any rate, I do agree that there's certainly aspects of the Lower Town plan that this does not agree with, and I understand that. But having new people come to town, which has happened in a lot of our developments, enriches us culturally as well. So those are all aspects to consider. Councillor Carlson. Were you finished, Councillor?
No, let's have a discussion.
Okay, sure.
I really appreciate that you brought up the idea of human scale, because I think that one of the things that this development brought was a lot of shock, because it is really big. And I think that's something that we need to remember as council is, assuming we allow the gathering of the information that is being proposed and looking at all of the risk, there's still a huge discussion to be had, and it is still within council's prerogative to actually put forth maybe it is too big, and that is something that council can bring forward to the developer. And if we say, well, this is far too big for what you're proposing, but send us back something smaller, perhaps you end up in a different situation. But you can't go there until you determine what the risk is, and we haven't determined what the risk is, and I don't think it's fair to, simply because of the shock factor that there is right now, to shut the whole thing down, because this could come forward again in 3 or 4 years. There'll be a lot more information out there if this continues along its course, and then if for some reason it doesn't go forward, at least that information is still there, and there'll be a basis for it. We won't have to start again at square one, or whoever happens to deal with something like this into the future at that location, which is, at this point in time in the plan, slated for future medium residential development.
Councillor Barkle.
One of the reasons I didn't want to discuss things at this point was that it makes it look like I have a position already, and I really don't. There's things about the proposal I like and things about the proposal I don't particularly care for. And there's certain technical things that need to be addressed as well. But it all comes down to, in the end, how much weight you give all the various factors. 30 years ago, I might have felt a little bit more like Councillor Holmes, but as I have observed Summerland over the years, is that it's inevitable that this piece of property will be developed at some point. If it's not in the ALR, there will be a different council that comes in and says you can put something on it. So one way or the other, I think that it's gone as far as agriculture is concerned. I've seen it happen in Trail Creek where councils tried to preserve some agricultural land that wasn't in the reserve, and the next council just took it out of the zoning for agriculture because it wasn't in the ALR, and now it has houses. So though it's nice to think that maybe we'll save all of our agricultural land, I think the majority of people will draw the line, as Mayor Waterman said, at the ALR boundary. The other thing is, when I liked Summerland the way it was when I grew up, and if I'd had my way, most of you probably wouldn't be here because the town wouldn't change. But the town is going to change, it will continue to change, and we have to go with that. I believe the majority of the people want to see growth, and if we don't consider these things, then we're not going to have the growth that I feel the majority want. There's no location that you can put anything of any scale that isn't going to impact some people.
Is there anybody else? So I'd like to indicate that, I agree with Councillor Carlson to some degree, that, we've, despite my comments in sort of debating Councillor Holmes, but I feel that we're sitting in a position of not having enough information, in particular on the hatcheries situation. Certainly there's a fair amount of information from the initial hydrology review and the review that the freshwater fisheries put together of that initial report. And freshwater fisheries did state that they have some concerns, and they put forward some potential mitigation possibilities, but they still have concerns generally that have, to their mind, has not been met adequately with the developer or by us, but it's primarily the developer. So I would like to understand that kind of information before I go any further with it as well. So that's sort of where I sit. And when you look at the overall time frame, I haven't been here from birth as Councillor Barkwell has, but I have been here about 40 years now, and I've seen some things change. You look at some of the old pictures, yes, you see more houses, some condos, and particularly through Trout Creek, quite a change. So change happens, not, as Councillor Barkwell said, not to everybody's liking each time, but it has to be considered. But in my mind, it has to be considered in the technical aspects that are within our reach to understand. So I will not be supporting. The other thing is that, we did have the Q&A the other evening, and there were a significant number of people that still were lining up at the mics, expecting to be heard. And so that would be one of my reasons for wanting to move forward to a fuller Q&A at a future date, as is suggested by the other motion. Anybody else? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, we don't have all the information on things like the trout hatchery and everything, but we do have all the information on the scale of this project and on some of these other things. And Councillor Carlson says the information will still be there, if we decide this isn't the right thing. Well, it might not be there. I mean, the former mayor, Perino, wrote a letter to the editor talking about how she didn't support a previous application, but all my inquiries, we haven't been able to find this previous application anywhere, so I don't even know what what the previous proposals were, and I know there have been previous proposals for that land, and I find it very odd that we don't have that information. You know, I find I'm starting to see there's no point in me continuing on with this, but you know, there's one other concern about this development that's an issue for me, and the fact that you know, in the cultural plan, one of the 5 strategic directions in that plan was to connect the community. And that's physical connections where you connect one neighborhood to another, whereas this seems to be going against that. It's creating a new neighborhood segregated from the rest of the community. When you talk about creating something that has their own restaurants and businesses, that means there's 500 people that are going to be there who aren't going to be coming up using downtown businesses and restaurants. That has their own theater. It means, you know, 500 people not coming to center stage. Its own recreational facility. It means 500 people not using the community's recreational facility. So there is a segregation that's being built in there. And there's also this idea of social connections that we talk about, that, and there are different viewpoints about aging and the seniors' place in the community. And you know, my preference is for multi-generational neighborhoods, like Councillor Boot was talking about, where seniors are living side by side with families, with young people. So young people are helping older people, and older people are helping young people, and this development, it just goes against that. It's not my idea of community building. And I'll leave it there.
Okay. I'd still like to respond to some degree, because if I'm not mistaken, Summerland is constituted of a number of different areas, Councillor Holmes. Trout Creek is one, which has a reasonable automotive distance from the rest of it. Crescent Beach is another one, North Beach, other sections of town. So, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, we want to create another spot like Trout Creek, which is separated from the rest of town, but your argument falls a little flat there. So
No.
No, please, we'll have no extra comment. Thank you. Councillor Holmes, did you have a comment?
Trout Creek and Crescent Beach are separate because of geography, of this physical separation. What you're creating here is this separate community within the community.
Yeah.
We already have a community here. It's called Summerland. We don't need to build another one inside it.
Yes. Councillor Barkle.
You said that's 500 people who aren't going to go uptown, 500 people that aren't going to go to the theater. I don't buy that at all. I think that is going to be a real benefit to the uptown people. Certainly there will be people that will go uptown, lots of them. Certainly there will be lots of employees who will either live in Summerland or Penticton. I live in Summerland and work in Penticton. It's only fair to think that people will live in any community, but it will mean a lot of jobs, and it will mean a lot of people to participate in Summerland. There's no way in the world that those people, just because they have some additional facilities there, are not going to be out and about in Summerland. I don't buy that statement at all. I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration.
Councillor Pete. Councillor Pete.
Yeah, I think that when you sit at a council table, you have to think holistically. And we have a great community in Summerland, but there are neighborhoods within our community. And there's the opportunity for more neighborhoods within our community. Even our strata have neighborhoods. Neighborhoods do provide connectivity. It's part of our community. It's 5 minutes down the hill. There will be lots of people that may potentially, if this goes through, have an opportunity to live there, who will become not just people that use their own neighborhood, but people that come uptown and frequent the businesses, that do the cultural things, that create cultural things within their own community that other people can participate in. When there are neighborhoods within a community, it actually ends up richer. And I'm not advocating one way or the other for this particular community, because I still want to see more information.
Councillor Carlson?
It's okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I,
Councillor Booth, go ahead.
If I could just do this, I'm just having Councillor Barkwell pull up Google Earth for me so I can see an overview of the site.
Okay.
And the reason I'm asking you to do this is because I'm not sure.
We could probably get that done. This is part of your information requirement?
The question I want to ask, and I just wanted to see if it exists already or not, is if there is emergency access and egress from Banks Crescent.
It's both ways.
Yeah, and I don't mean in and out of Latimer. I mean 2 different routes, one in and one out. Is there?
Well, there's this, Solly can be expressed as in and out, and also down Latimer to Lakeshore is another access.
There's not a connection from Solly to Banks Crescent, no, to the development. Is that correct?
No, not directly, no.
Is it only Latimer?
Yes, at this point, from
That's
Solly,
the
yes.
only way in and out?
You can come up from the Lakeshore to get
No.
to this development.
Is that the only way, if you have driven a vehicle, an emergency vehicle, say,
Mhm.
into down Solly or up Solly, whatever, and then along Latimer, along Banks Crescent into the development, is Latimer the only way to get into and out of the development? That's my question.
We cannot answer that question today because we have not finished the processing and any plan.
Excuse me.
Extremely rude.
We cannot answer that question today because answers like that have the fire chief's input and other emergency personnel, and we haven't got that far in the process. And so the answer is, I don't know. And at this point in time, with Dean where he is right now, he can't answer right now what the plans are for that particular application.
That's enough comment, thank
You
you.
need to get your gavel ready.
Yeah. I'd ask the audience to respect the process that council is in discussion and deliberating with each other at this time, please.
And this is Banks.
Yeah.
So how do you get out?
Don't be taking that house out. That'll be okay.
Councillor Trainer,
So, the next step then, if we were to go forward
can
with
you
this.
speak into your mic, please?
The next step, if we were to go forward with this, then, is to hear from the fish hatchery. Is that correct?
Right now, you would debate when
Yeah.
you've got a motion on the table.
Right.
So you would have to determine whether you're not going to move forward with second reading or not.
Mm-hmm.
After that, if that motion passes and you determine that second reading passes, then you'll talk about what the next steps are. Exactly that. So you'll either determine that you look at the recommendation. You could decide to immediately go to a public hearing to hear from the public. You have a number of choices which you will debate once you determine what this step is.
Okay.
Right. So you need to decide if you're passing second reading or not, and then you would pass another motion directing staff on how to proceed if you were to pass second reading.
Okay, I guess I was just wondering then, how long it would take to talk to the fish hatchery?
Well,
Like,
if you...
how long would it take to get
If
that
council
information?
directs us, we have a list, we have a list of, a letter from the fish hatchery that, with their outstanding questions on it, we would immediately start asking the questions. Next council meeting, we would report back to council what we found to date. Council would determine whether or not that was enough information to move forward in the process, or it wasn't enough information. So we would then start looking. Because we don't know the magnitude of the issues at this time, we couldn't provide it, but we would start working on it right away.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if we
Did you want to take, do you need to take a minute? Do you need to take a
Yeah.
temporary adjournment?
Yeah, I'd like to take a temporary adjournment for a couple of minutes.
Is that what you need?
Yeah, so.
5
Counselor,
minutes.
5 minutes, please. Bio break. Thank you. All right. Counselor Holmes,
Could you read it to me, please?
could you read the motion out, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion was that official community plan amendment for 13610 Banks Crescent bylaw number 2016-042 and zoning bylaw amendment for 13610 Banks Crescent bylaw number 2016-043 be read for a second time.
Okay. So that's the motion?
Yeah.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries with 2 opposed.
Could you put my name on record, please?
And I'd like my name recorded as well, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, council. We'll move on to the next agenda item.
No, you need to now
discuss
have a
this.
discussion of where to direct staff with the
Okay,
next steps.
Okay, all right.
So either back to the recommended motion or
Okay, we've moved.
that you're continuing the process, so now we need direction.
Okay, right. Okay, we've dealt with that aspect, but we still need to be able to direct staff. Oops. We still need to be able to direct staff further in terms of more information and detailed deliberations with fish hatchery, et cetera, and other aspects of the development. So would someone like to bring a motion forward, please?
Can I ask a question first?
Of course.
So the proposed motion suggests that another question and answer could potentially be held next week. Does that give enough time to gather enough information to put it together and put it back out to the public so that perhaps questions could be answered prior to the question and answer, therefore leading to less duplicate questions and more informed public at the time?
I would say that if we had another question and answer period next week, it would be the same. There wouldn't be very many answers. The idea, when council was first talking about it, was to be able to hear the questions of the public. I would suggest that the only value of having another Q&A session at this amount of time is if you felt there was more questions or more broad questions that we haven't identified yet. There may be some more information regarding the hatchery, but they wouldn't be reported out until we reported them out to council, so no.
So personally, I would feel more comfortable allowing for questions to continue to be raised, sent in to be answered, compiled so that the public could have those answers, and then given that staff does need time to compile this and that the developer likely has to deal with a lot of different questions and studies as well as the freshwater fisheries, I think that there should be an opportunity for the public to continue to ask questions. However, all of that information should be thought of and answered in a more, and then have that extra public question and answer that may or may not.
So do you have a date in mind, Councillor Carlson?
I'm not sure how long that will take. We don't have another council meeting for 3 weeks, 14th of February. There's five Mondays in January, so I would just suggest that it's at least a week later so that people have, but that's just me.
I think I think maybe what you need to just think about first of all is whether or not you want to follow a process where you're directing staff to look at the fish hatchery issues first, while leaving the other issues aside until you make a decision on that. And if that's the case, those questions won't be answered until that is what we'll be focusing on, is whether or not there needs to be more studies on the aquifer or whatever that is. So it could be that you haven't talked about that yet, but if that's where you felt, and then a special meeting could be called with council. You don't need necessarily to wait 3 weeks if we had further information that needed to be shared on the fish hatchery piece, if that's what you want us to focus on now.
Councillor Barkle.
That sounds like a good idea.
So we'd need a re-rig of that motion to some extent? Suggestions?
You could just make number 2 your motion, and then at that time reconsider when you have information. You know, when you get the results back from the fish hatchery, if council's not satisfied as a group that with that whatever is going to be done, that those issues can't be resolved, you at that point in time may say, let's go to public hearing, because you have to go to public hearing now. Let's go to public hearing very quickly and then debate it and potentially end it right away at that time without gathering further information. So you'll have more, once you have that piece of information, you can decide what your next steps are.
Councillor Carlson and Councillor Peak?
Just suggest that I think that's a really worthwhile way to go, because the amount of effort and staff time that's going to take to go through all the next steps is quite significant. And I think that for me, the question of the aquifer and the water and what the impact actually is going to be, I think that's very important to raise that first and to find out.
Councillor Peak?
I'm not comfortable with doing a special meeting on this particular item because I think it should stay in the regular council meetings. It's very hard for people to all get informed. I think if it stays in the regular council meeting, then there's a greater opportunity for the public to participate.
Yeah, I don't mind either way, but I agree with you.
And it would likely be 3 weeks to do a thorough study. I don't know what questions are going to come up.
It takes what it takes. Trying to set an arbitrary time would not be very sensible.
So the recommended motion on number 2 would still work because it just says report back to council. So we could keep it at a regular meeting and
Sure.
give an update next time of where we're
Okay.
at.
So Councillor Carlson, do you want to
Bring a
amend
motion
it?
forward?
Yeah.
Yes, we still need to receive this information from before as well, right? The first part of part 1?
Yeah.
So I will move that council pass the following resolutions: that the public comments and questions received through the January 16th open house and January 19th question and answer session be received, and that staff be requested to meet with the applicants and representatives of the Freshwater Fishery Society of BC to review the concerns raised in relation to the hatchery facility and the aquifer water source and report back to council.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Have the vote, please. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So we're free to move ahead now, CAO?
Yes.
Okay, so,
This one's going to Chris.
pardon me?
This one's going to Chris.
Okay, this goes to 12.1, Director of Works and Utilities, please.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. My report this evening is with regards to the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, the grit removal and filtration upgrades that are proceeding. We had an RFP out this past month. It closed January 10th. And the purpose for the report is to bring forward to Council for their approval to proceed with the one proponent that was received. Based on our purchasing policy, if only one proposal is received and the amount is greater than $100,000, it needs to come to Council for their approval. So that's the purpose of the report. The one proponent was Stantec Consulting Limited, who has done the work on the design for the upgrades to date. And so as noted in the report, the recommendation is to move forward with approving the award of that work to Stantec. So if there's any questions from Council this time, I'm here to take them.
Councillor Holmes.
Is it unusual to only receive one bid, and are there many companies that do this sort of work?
It depends on the situation. It does happen once in a while. With this circumstance, my belief is that Stantec has been involved with the detailed design to date. All of the proponents that viewed the RFP were aware of that because any of the design work that was done was part of the documents attached to the RFP for their viewing, because they would be taking over from the design where it was completed to date and finalizing it and moving forward into construction. So My assumption is that a lot of companies that did look at it had to weigh out pros and cons of submitting when another company has already done a lot of the work to date. So,
Councillor Peak?
Yes, am I correct? This is the project that's actually 3.2 million that we receive funding both from the federal government and the provincial government.
Correct.
So this is the first step. This is the service to help us go through the project itself.
yep. So the RFP is to finalize the design, prepare the tender, go out to tender, then review the award the contract and move forward with construction. So it's the engineering services for that work.
And Stantec, if I'm not incorrect, is an established firm across Canada. It has lots of good background to do the work that we need to do on this.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions of Director?
I'll bring this forward.
Yeah, please do. Yep.
That the consulting services contract for contract administration and inspection services for the wastewater treatment plant, grit removal, and effluent filter upgrades be awarded to Stantec Consulting Limited.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. Any further discussion? It's pretty basic. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. None opposed. Okay, 12.2. Who's bringing that forward, CEO? Oh, it'd be,
This one we can
Mr.
move to
Denninger.
Mr. Denninger.
Right.
Good evening. This is being brought to council because it is a request for staff to award a contract for janitorial services for all municipal facilities and for parks washrooms. Policy does require that when the preferred proponent would be more than $100,000 and is not the low bidder, the council would have to approve it. So there has been janitorial service provided by another contractor since 2012. An RFP was put out late last year to find a new proponent, a new service provider. There were 8 submissions, and after comprehensive review from a number of staff, there is a clear preferred proponent, LA Beamish Janitorial Services, which just so happens to have worked here previously prior to the current contractor, and is also a local Summerland company that when they subcontract, they also subcontract local Summerland businesses. So a benefit in many ways. Staff are proposing a contract for 3 years with a further 3-year renewal if both parties agree. And the costs would be a bit higher than the current contract, but all staff agree that the current contract is insufficient for the cleaning needs. So that's the bulk.
Okay. Questions, Mr. Denninger? Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to our Director of Corporate Services. I can hardly see your face, but I don't need details quite clearly, but when you state that they were employed by the district until 2012, you're satisfied that having them, kind of recontracted to do the work for whatever reason they didn't have that interim work, you're satisfied that, everything's good there?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The feedback we've heard from people who were there at the time is all positive.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I can report from that particular time. I was there at the changeover of the contract, and this particular company had always done a good job. It was strictly a matter of the bids and the level of the bids. Councillor Barkville?
Is there an increase in the area or the work that is in the new contract?
I believe there's a slight increase in the frequency of public washroom cleaning, which has been an ongoing issue. The biggest change will simply be the amount of time spent by janitorial staff in doing the work.
So it's
The current service is inadequate for the amount of wear and tear that some of these public buildings get.
Okay, Councillor Holmes.
This is essentially just for interior cleaning. It's not like the steps outside the municipal
That's correct. I think there's some window washing that occurs, but it's not outdoor sweeping. That's the works department.
Right. And So it also includes Okanagan College. I noticed that downstairs in the basement. Is that something built into our lease with Okanagan College?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And sorry, just continuing on. So and that is only for when classes are in session. When classes aren't in session, I guess there's nothing clean, right? And that's the idea. I just wanted to tie all this together. You know, when quite often, you know, that college, it's not always used that much, and a lot of clutter. It really gets down. You know, the stairwells going down and right in front of the door. Leaves and everything come down there, and it looks. It looks like some back alley, right? And I'm just wondering if I don't know if obviously it doesn't fall under here because they don't do outdoor stuff, but you know, could we keep that area clean?
I think that there's a greater attention on all of our civic buildings right now, on all matters. So, it's something we talk about often with staff recently is that our buildings need to represent us and the district, and so we're working through it, and we'll certainly keep that in mind and deal with them.
Anybody else?
Just because it's not used that often, it's so that it gets cluttered.
Absolutely, and because we're talking about it a lot, but because they're not at the table when we're talking about that, we've missed them. So I appreciate that. We'll make a note.
Good point. Okay, Councillor Carlson.
I will move that staff be directed to award to L.A. Beamish Janitorial Services the contract to provide janitorial service for district buildings and public washrooms as detailed in the request for quote RFQ 2016-02.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Okay, any further discussion?
Could I just make a comment,
Go,
Mr.
of course.
Mayor? I like the comment, and this is from the report, that this is a Summerland company that employs Summerland people. Even when they have to go outside for special services, they still look to employ Summerland people, and I think that's a good example.
I agree. Any other comments? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor? Thank you. It's unanimous, none opposed. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, 12.3, budget timeline. Our CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The community charter requires that a 5-year financial plan be adopted by bylaw prior to the tax rates bylaw. Now, the tax rates bylaws must be adopted by May 15th, so that is the deadline for staff. Over the past few months, staff has been working towards their departmental budgets, and I've been meeting with them last week, just trying to get a feel for where things are currently at. The document in front of council is just a proposed timeline as to when staff would like to bring this budget process to you. It is a proposed budget. If some of the timelines don't tie in with council, we can definitely tweak them, but this is a document that we would like to move forward with.
Thank you. Questions of our CFO? Councillor Peak.
Not really a question. I think the timeline seems very reasonable, and I think that we should move forward with it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Someone like to, we've already got no, we don't have a motion. Someone bring the motion forward, please. Councillor Holmes.
I move that 2017 budget timeline is attached to the Director of Finance's 2017 budget timeline report dated January 16th, 2017 be approved.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Carlson. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just one thing.
Go ahead.
I likely won't be here for the open house, and that's okay because I know that we'll be getting lots of information in advance of that. But I may not be here for the April 12th special council budget meeting. So is there any chance that we could move that back a little bit? We don't have to discuss this now. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that not all the dates work for me.
There may be a meeting I can't make, but right now it looks like it's okay for me too.
Yeah, all of these dates we can look at as we move forward. It's probably the first 3 or 4 that are really important right now.
Yeah, and I'm good for all of those.
Okay, good.
It's just into April.
Thank you. Okay, Call the vote, please. All in favor? Thank you. The motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving ahead to 12.4. Tammy.
I'll start.
Pardon me?
I'll start.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. CEO.
So Tammy is going to walk council through what we've been working on with the Community Climate Action Committee. As council knows, we did disband the committee earlier, or near the end of last year, in looking at where we are, and since then have had Tammy on board to take a good look and meet with a number of people from the community. So I'll turn it over to you, Tammy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to come and speak with you this evening. As our CAO has said, we have been working on this for quite some time and speaking with other communities about best practices, as well as members from the previous committees, and we're very pleased to bring you the results of that work tonight. As noted in the report before you, our changes are intended to continue involving the community members in the work of meeting our climate action commitments, while strengthening the staff support that committee receives. We've also worked to focus the committee's mandate and create the provision of a clear annual work plan to help guide their work. Additionally, we've proposed amendments to the Climate Action Fund policy that we believe will not only make the administration of the funds more efficient, but will also ensure that each dollar spent is done so in a thoughtful way that moves us closer to our climate action goals. That said, we also believe that we can go even further and that we can make these funds even more effective in having a real impact on our greenhouse gas emissions reductions bottom line. And we are actively investigating other possible approaches to how climate action funds are allocated, and I look forward to discussing those with you in the future. However, the documents that you have in front of you, we believe as is, represent a very positive step forward for the District of Summerland, and that they will allow us to make real progress towards our greenhouse gas emissions reduction goals as presented. I look forward to any questions or comments that you have, and thank you again for the opportunity to present this.
Thank you. Council, questions of our Climate Energy Coordinator? Councillor Barkle.
I think this question is a bit more for the Director of Finance. I was reading through the changes in the financial part of it, and then I had to go to the provincial site to see what CARUP is. And then I see there's a spreadsheet where we have to estimate all of our carbon tax that we pay in the year. So was previously each department had to make that estimate? Now you're going to do it as one, like, sort of municipality as a whole?
It's not an estimate over the course of the year. The invoices that we pay, for instance, for natural gas, for diesel, gasoline, they all incorporate the carbon tax. So as we're paying those invoices, we're tracking the amount of carbon tax that we're paying. So at the end of the year, that spreadsheet, we actually input what we've paid. It calculates what our grant is, and then we get the funding for that.
So there's actually two pieces. We also had our departments self-funding into a fund as well, separate from the CARIB grant. And it was probably explained years ago that all the departments needed to be responsible and fund, but it's still coming from the same taxpayer. The funds are, whether or not Public Works, for example, budgets is an extra $5,000 to put to the Climate Action Fund, or whether council sits at the table and says, how much are we allocating to the Climate Action Fund, that's the subtle change that's there as far as when they're talking about departments that are estimating their own. The CARUP funding, one of the advantages of bringing Tammy on board is that we're able to give that reporting the attention that it needs, that we've been finding, and we will be giving a council a full report sometime in the future, that because we didn't have the resources to look at some of these issues, we've been missing perhaps some opportunities, and our reporting was very lax. So we're really working on formalizing how we're capturing that data.
Councillor Carlson.
One of the questions I had in regards to the committee's duties, is it also going to relate to projects such as the renewable energy and alternative energy direction that we're going? Is that the kind of information that would come to the committee for feedback and for discussion?
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that question. The intention is to have projects such as the renewable energy to be dealt with by staff because that relates to our corporate emissions more directly. There may be the opportunity for this committee to give input on how the community would be affected by such a project, and of course to work with us on education and those aspects of the project, but the hard knocks of the project, if you will, that would be dealt with by staff.
But, and we've been talking about that a lot. I think that's also one that's kind of got two pieces to it. And that is that what we did with the last time when we didn't have the support we needed, we neglected our own responsibilities as a corporation so we need to focus on not just the big projects, but some of our corporate responsibilities that we haven't been doing. But this will be a sounding board for some of those larger processes. So for example, when we're looking at the solar project, this committee, it will be there and will be part of their conversations as we gather input from the community conversations, et cetera, on where that could go.
Right, but not decision-making, that's
That's
a little
right.
different. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Tammy, I'd just like to, first of all, thank you for your report. And, going back a little bit in council's history with respect to the funding and climate action, to get this focus back is important. And just to elaborate a little bit on CARUP, that we had a choice as a council a couple of councils ago about whether we allowed those dollars to kind of leave the community to go into a carbon reservoir or worldwide carbon exchange? And
An offset program.
Offset program, that's what I was looking for. I knew it was there, buried somewhere. At any rate, yeah, the offset program, and actually that did not do us as a community very much good. So we had the option at that time to choose to bring that money back to the community, which we did. And it's meant a substantial amount of money that has been available for projects within the community. So I think, maintaining that control is good, and now having, you here and providing more focus will definitely be a positive approach towards climate action and dealing with climate change as a whole. So, thank you. Councillor Peak.
Yes, I don't know if this question would go to David or the CAO, but when the report speaks to whether it goes to a reserve or to operating budgets, could you explain to me the benefits thereof?
So I think what we have to look at during budgeting is there's no different ultimately. Once we get in a perfect world, we're going to look at what our budgeted items, we have a work plan, we're going to look at how much our budgeted items are, and that's the amount that we're going to put into the budget, and the rest will go into the reserve. If we need more during the year, if there's a new project, we can move it. So if it goes to the operating fund to start with, it'll just, whatever we approve in the operating fund, the balance will go to the reserve. So it's just a flow. We may not have explained it very well here, but we'll look at the list of projects during budget. If the projects are $42,000, for example, and Caribou, these are just random, was 75, then the difference between 42 and 75 would go into the reserve fund, and we would use the 42 for the operating project. So it's basically the same thing.
Okay, thank you very kindly.
Are we good? Someone like to bring a motion forward then, please? Councillor Traynor.
That Council adopt the 2017-18 Terms of Reference Community Climate Action Advisory Committee as presented, and 2, that Council adopt the amended Policy 200.3 Climate Action Funding the Reduction of Greenhouse Gases and Corporate Carbon Neutrality, dated January 23rd, 2017.
Thank you. The seconder, please. Councillor Carlson, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Traynor and Councillor Booth.
I was just wondering, when will this start back up? When will the committee be back up?
If we get this direction from council, then we will get moving on it ASAP. Yeah.
And will it be the same members?
Well, we'll talk to the members. They'll go through the process, but they'll certainly be talked to. We have some that have indicated that they'd like to, and some that have indicated that they don't want to. So.
Okay.
Councillor Boot?
And Councillor Trainer asked my question, thank you.
Oh, good, okay. Councillor Holmes?
Just same question, really. Will it be advertised?
Yes, it will
Yeah.
be advertised.
Thank you. Okay. Did we bring that forward?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did. Second. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, moving ahead. Okay. 12.5, interior health verbal update. Who's doing that? Yeah?
We just wanted to bring forward the fact that the PRV 10 project, which is the water shutdown in March, is still moving ahead, and that we need to get back on to having another meeting and providing further information. We did have a bit of a delay in that we were doing some more work with interior health, and it's caused some angst in that the communication has been very limited in the last month. And Mr. Johnson, did you want to speak?
I guess just that, you know, any questions and answers that have been received since the initial sessions at the end of October are posted on our website as well. So there is a second Q&A that's up. The presentations from those open houses are there as well. And just, yeah, we're in communications with IHA right now to confirm timelines for their review of our proposed option, and are waiting to hear back.
At this time, the proposed option is the same one that we addressed at the last session, and that is that it is expected that there will be water provided to all residents except 161 properties, but that the preparation for a full shutdown has to be made because there's such reliance on so many factors that it's impossible to know that whether it would be happen or not. So that is what we're still working on, though, and that is what we'll roll out. We're hoping, we were expecting a timeline from IHA. This was a new, something new that they wanted to review. They were involved right from the start on this project, but sort of at a very late calling, they asked to do a further review of what our options were, right from a $10 million alternate mobile water treatment plant for those 3 days down to this option that we were actually looking at, and to make sure that that council had selected one that balanced the cost and safety to residents. So, but there's a lot of work that still needs to be done with the bigger institutions. Most of them have been proactively working on the plan, but there is still work to be done. We still want to look at the possibility of starting up a volunteer program that can assist some of the seniors who live alone that may not be able to handle large water jugs on their own, and making sure that there's nobody that's left not being able to look after themselves for that period of time.
Councillor Barkle and Councillor Trainer.
How much authority or control does Interior Health have over our decisions to take the choice that we think is appropriate for Summerland?
Well, in our last meeting, last teleconference we had with the medical health officer, that was one of the questions that we were asking, especially since we had engaged the two other staff members since the beginning of the project, and they had been coming to our meetings. And the answer on whether or not he had authority, if he didn't agree with what we had changed, we actually didn't investigate, because at the end of that conversation, with the extra work we did with the engineers, he himself was 100% support and made a comment, and I don't have it written down here today, but it made a comment that that Devin and Chris and their team at Public Works had done a thorough job, had been engaged, and had and that he was impressed with the due diligence that we had done through this process. So we never quite got there, and we certainly would if there had been resistance.
Councillor Trainer.
I just wanted to clarify. So all of the residents are basically being asked to prepare for our shutdown,
Yes.
but we'll likely be able to supply water to almost everybody except for 200 residents.
For
161
for a portion of time after the lines get drained for a portion of time from Saturday morning, say, till.
For the 170?
No,
Oh.
for the rest of there'll be a period of time where we're out of water, but there should be a majority of time during the weekend that there'll be water. It will
Okay.
have to be boiled, it won't be, et cetera, et cetera. Those details will come out, though, within very shortly, more.
Okay, will there be a reduction in water pressure?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the backfeeded water from the 2 irrigation systems would be intermittent, so
Okay.
lower pressure and lower flow than.
So there'll be some water,
There's
reduced
hopefully
pressure,
going to be
water.
some water.
Okay.
But we have to be careful with the messaging, because nobody should be relying on it, because some of those valves have never been used, that some of them have never been opened. It's a complex system or approach that we're taking. So and we also are planning to be working with those 161. Those are residents such as ones that are directly on the water main where there's no alternative ways of feeding them. But we'll be looking at what we can do to assist them with water during that period of time.
Okay, yeah, I just been asked by some business owners about it, and they just wanted to know.
It is. We talked to the Chamber of Commerce 2 weeks ago, and it is frustrating. It's very frustrating for us too, because logistics, the Works Department and our administration needs to start working on it fully. That needs to be what is getting the full attention. It's, but it was just this process that really slowed things down. So once we start speaking, we will be rolling it out in every way we can.
So just to ask an additional question, sorry, Councillor Peak. My big concern was the seniors. Are there any plans to sort of move ahead with the Snow Angel approach to?
Yeah, that's what I was referring to when I was saying about putting the volunteer group, trying
About
to
service clubs, perhaps?
trying to coordinate that and being the central place to perhaps have that coordinated to be.
Okay.
And you're right, that's a good way of saying it, to be like a Snow Angel program with the water.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Peak.
Yes, are we doing particular meetings with the business community that, particularly the commercial areas where there's public traffic into their businesses? Should there be unexpected water not available to them? Are we doing any particular, I know we've spoken with the chamber, but have we done a particular meeting, or are we having a particular meeting for business owners?
Yes, we've been looking at some dates that we're definitely going to do a separate meeting, but it was premature to do it until we're finished.
I certainly
But
understand
yes.
that. Don't have to re-explain that. I'm just, I think there's some focus. We look at our larger institutions, and the commercial areas are important to our community as well.
Councillor Booth?
Yeah, thank you. That meeting will be advertised. I know I was approached by the minister of our church, and he asked if Sunday services were off that Sunday.
Yeah, and that's why we need to, that's absolutely why we need to, we'll make sure that we contact IHA tomorrow and make sure that, and find out when that final engineering, we need to know now. It's getting,
Yes,
it's
getting
4
close.
weeks or so now, so, and then we'll get it out there.
Anything else? Okay, you need anything from us?
Sorry, just, our hope was that for the February newsletter, we would have full information, so that much of that February newsletter will be in regards to the water shutdown, so.
Good.
That's it.
So, just to report, you don't need
No.
anything from us at this
No.
point? Okay, 12.6.
Just a note, much earlier in the year, we had some discussion on FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, conference, and whether or not we were going to have any delegates attending in Ottawa. this year, June 1st to 4th, and then with many of the agendas that we've had a lot of things going, it hasn't come for any kind of discussion. Unfortunately, the registration information is not up, and on Thursday we phoned, Friday we phoned, and today we phoned FCM, and not one of those phone calls have been returned yet, so we don't have program details and costs, registration costs, so that's, I was expecting to have it by today.
Thank you.
Do you bring it back?
So we shouldn't discuss it?
So you can discuss it, but you're not going to get any information on if there's any keynote speakers and particularly good sessions, so we can delay it to the next council meeting if you would like. We can table it to the next council meeting and bring it back again.
Let's table it till we have information.
Thank you. Okay, so we need a motion to table that?
Well, because it wasn't, I mean,
It's
I don't, we'll just bring it back.
information,
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, any new business? None? We're not dealing with any bylaws tonight? Okay, councillor reports. Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended several meetings, the Art Council, Trail of the Okanogans. I went to the grant writing seminar at Chatford, which was very well put on by the Community Reinvestment Fund. I attended on the water treatment plant tour. I've done some other things within the community, and I went to the KVR board meeting. They are working forward on their costs on the trestle repair, and very pleased that they have continued support from the council to work towards that and looking for funding mechanisms. I'd like to thank the staff and the Sister City Committee for the display of the Japanese kimonos and other attributes within the council chamber. I think it's quite enlivening, and it honors the relationship we have with Torikoro, Japan.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I'd also like to say what a pleasure it is sitting here and looking at this, these wonderful gifts from our sister city. For many years, for I guess a full year, I'm sure over a year, we sat in here with the Cultural Plan Task Force. We met in this room, and we often talked about how the municipality needed to take the lead on some of these cultural things and celebrating our culture. And certainly our relationship with our sister city is a big part of our community culture. So it's great to see. And I believe the plan is that we're going to change what's in here every once in a while, so we can highlight some of the great things about our community, and maybe some of the permanent collection and that sort of thing. So that would be, I think that's great.
I noticed there's some other pictures here as well that have been put in since.
Yeah, they're all part of the Japanese, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
On Tuesday, I attended the Rec Commission meeting, and it was a really encouraging meeting, and we had a good discussion of the Rec Commission's role within our the Rec master plan process, and it's encouraging to see that they'll be kind of acting as a steering committee for that. I took the tour of the water treatment plant with Councillor Peak and Councillor Barkwells and members of the Water Advisory Committee, and I'd like to thank staff. They did a great job of answering all our questions and putting up with us, and I think it was really good for both for myself, but also for the committee members to see and understand the facilities that they're basically making recommendations on, and we're making decisions on. So I encourage these other sort of things for other committees to do the same sort of thing. I just wanted to say something about Ballet Kelowna. It's the only professional dance company in the BC interior. It's a really high quality performance. It's an amazing dance company. They've been performing at Center Stage regularly over the years. The last couple of years, they haven't been as active in promoting the event in Summerland. They used to give reduced tickets to the Summerland School of Dance kids. You don't really see the posters. They stopped putting posters around town, and they didn't even have a place in town where you could buy the tickets. You either had to do it online or go to Kelowna to buy tickets for Summerland. And so it's not really surprising that attendance has declined at that event over the years. And this year I noticed that Summerland's not even on the schedule. So I just want to put a request out to Ballet Kelowna not to give up on Summerland, and if you just put a little bit of effort in promoting and making those connections in the community, I think you'll get the audiences back. So.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
I have nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Booth.
I have a few things to report. Attended the Water Advisory Committee meeting, and of course the Two Banks Crescent sessions. Also attended the Chamber of Commerce session, and they are going to be having a breakfast meeting with us to bring us up to speed on their 2017 proposed business and business development activities.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be good. I don't know when that is yet. As of, I guess, let's see, today's Monday, a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, I was elected chair of the Okanagan-Similkameen Healthy Living Coalition, which is based in Penticton and covers the whole regional district, so right down to Princeton. And one of the things that the coalition has done, and this obviously has been planned, was planned last year, is on this past Wednesday, Councillor Carlson, your mum was there, I saw her there. They presented with the Okanagan College Speakers Series a talk by Dr. Kent Mullenix, who's with the Kwantlen Polytechnic University and the Institute for Sustainable Food Systems. He was talking about the opportunities that the Okanagan region has within the three regional districts to develop a sustainable food system, not only for health reasons, but also environmental reasons and the economic and business opportunities that are associated with that and jobs and things. That was very interesting. He also spoke to the RDOS, a bit of a different flavor, RDOS, on Thursday morning, and Mayor Waterman and I were attending that meeting. And what came out of that meeting is I requested that the RDOS work with the Okanagan Nation Alliance. There was a representative from the Okanagan Nation Alliance there as well, West Bank First Nation specifically, to apply for funding for a community-to-community forum through UBCM. There's funding through the Union of BC Municipalities. So they're going to work on that. Staff is going to work on getting that application for grant monies in. So there'll be a community-to-community forum coming up, probably a full day, on sustainable food systems and the opportunities within our regional district, but also the two to the north of us. So stay tuned for that. It'll be interesting.
Thank you. Councillor Barkle.
Attended the Heritage Advisory Commission meeting, and that group has a lot of great ideas. I think but it might largely depend on budget deliberations this year. They do have suggestions for the mosaic, the Canada 150 mosaic that Summerland's participating in, and they had some good suggestions brought forward there. And I thought the water treatment plant tour was very interesting, and really admired the enthusiasm of the staff there for what they do. I think Summerland's lucky to have a crew like that looking after such a vital part of our community. Water's always been very central to everybody's minds in Summerland. Next week I'm on the council liaison for the Museum Society. We have a meeting next week, and I just would like to say, because within the community there's been some discussion and controversy, that I am 110% behind the board, the Museum Society, and I believe that they are really doing things the right way and that they're bringing us into the future.
Thank you.
Although they deal with the past.
That was a tough one. Yeah, Councillor Trainer.
I attended the Recreation Commission meeting last week, and it was a really good meeting. I feel like everybody was re-energized and looking forward to the RFP going out and that coming back and then getting started on the recreation plan. There's also a Trails Master Plan in the works, so that's going to be really good. This Tuesday, so tomorrow night, is the last film in the Summerland Healthy Communities Initiative, and it's called The David Suzuki Diaries, Sustainability in Action. It starts at 6 o'clock at Center Stage, and it's free. We're going to be having a panel discussion afterwards. The film's about 45 minutes, and then we'll have a discussion, and there's also snacks. Like I said, it's our last film. We've done a total of 6, and it's been a really great series.
What was
Sorry?
the date again? Sorry.
It's tomorrow.
Oh,
Tomorrow at 6. So it's free, so everybody's welcome to attend. And finally, I would like to thank Jeremy. Last week, Jeremy helped me lead about 15 Girl Guides on a tour through City Hall, and they really enjoyed it. Jeremy took us into some rooms that I've never even been in before. We were down in the basement.
The mayor's
and-
office.
Yeah, we went in there.
There you go.
And they really found it interesting, and they asked some really good questions. And I think it's really good when kids, they get to see what we do. And I said to them, what happens when you flush the toilet, or what happens when you turn on your tap and stuff like that. And they get it, like they're aware of what goes on. So I was really happy with that, and I hope that we can do more tours. And Jeremy did an awesome job. So thank you so much.
Good outreach.
Thank you. Okay, now we move into public and media question period. This is a time for the public to address council with any concerns they may have.
Mayor and Council, my name is Terry Green. I'm a resident of Summerland at 5709 Century Street. I want to comment that I am significantly disappointed and very frustrated with what has happened with Council tonight. From my perspective, Council had determined a process regarding the Bank Street development, which included a open house session, and then a session where the public and community was going to have an opportunity for questions and answers. In that question and answer session, prior to the attendance, to the best of my knowledge, there was no stipulation that there was going to be a time limit on the questions and answers. And it was only when we got into the meeting, and it was then we were informed that there would probably be a timeline depending on how many people had questions. When I attended the meeting, the question and answer meeting, I had no prepared questions myself. I was coming because I wanted to hear other citizens' concerns and questions, and to hear what kind of answers may be made available. Now, I was very disappointed that there were very few answers, but I was very encouraged by the questions that were being asked. And as more and more people spoke, and more people gave detailed information as well as asking questions, I was then developing questions of my own that I wanted to ask. And in fact, when it was announced that it looked like there was going to be a shutting down of the meeting, I made sure that I quickly moved to get in line, because I wanted an opportunity in that kind of public forum that Council had decided was going to be the process, so that I could ask my questions. But the meeting was cut off. So at that point, I went directly to our CAO immediately, and I asked her, will we, meaning the citizens of Summerland, have an opportunity to complete the question and answer session, because there were a number of us who didn't have that opportunity, before Council would make any decisions regarding the Bank Street development. So I'd asked that specifically. And the answer that I was given, and I'm assuming that was given on behalf of you as the council and mayor, was the only decision that could possibly be made at tonight's meeting, the council meeting, would be not to proceed with the proposal. But there would be no other decisions made. And so tonight I come to the meeting because I had a concern. I had a concern that what I was being told was not actually what was going to happen. And I've had that confirmed tonight, because not only has the decision been made, we've now gone through second reading. So we've done first, second, there's only one more. I know there has to be still a public meeting, but we've gone, that decision was made. And I was told that that would not be made. And also now, another public question and answer session has now been deferred, and sort of to the best of my ability, my understanding, it's now been deferred sort of indefinitely, like who knows whether it will happen or not. It could be that maybe we're just going to have a public hearing and that's it. So I just want to express my disappointment in the process, because it was your process that you brought forward, and you're not sticking to it, and I think you're denying the citizens an opportunity to have that public forum to discuss the concerns, ask questions, and hopefully if we can't get immediate answers, we'll get answers in the future. Thank you.
Okay.
So
Yes, sir.
Is it addressed already? Yeah. My name is Mike Wisbicki. I live at Sunset Place. So it's far away from development I like to ask the question about. But as a citizen of Summerland, I'm quite concerned that this project has so many concerns. So here's my question. Can the district elected and administration authorities guarantee and inform citizens about such guarantees that in any case of a claim, financial, legal, whatever, against the district related to the claim to the development of a bank's crescent construction and operation, nobody, I mean district organization, department, and a citizen is in any form liable or responsible for any damage being proven as related to such development. It could be the case in vicinity or in a way, but related, proven being related to the development. So basically speaking, are we safe here if we say go ahead?
Do you want me to answer that? Just a brief response on that. That question did come up the other night, and a district is liable if they don't do due diligence. At this point in time, the process hasn't been finished. We don't have enough information for council to look and make that conscious decision. That decision will have to be one that's made by council, whether or not they have done due diligence or not on and looked at their risk factors. So that's.
So let me add to this a little bit. All right, I'm former civil engineer, professional engineer with extensive background of road construction, design, and maintenance. So I've been dealing with a situation like that. That is virtually impossible to predict in an area like that the future soil and water behavior. And either our district and citizens, taxpayers, or builder and developer could face serious consequences. So I like to be, you said due diligence, but to which degree you can be due diligent. So is there any form of protection, legal protections for all of us here, taxpayers, against future maybe serious financial losses? That's my main concern. Not only mine, I'm afraid that it's many people are voting this type of concern. So think about it and let us know. It might put in rest many, many fears if we know exactly what could be in the future in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just remind everybody that we've have a 15-minute session, so please keep your comments to 2 minutes, and that allows for more people to have an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Doug Wall, 13807 Latimer Avenue. We've heard tonight from the staff report and also from the CAO in reference to concerns that are in a letter supposedly from the Freshwater Fisheries Society. Now, to help the public stay informed and to promote transparency, could that letter be posted on the Banks Crescent Development web page that the district holds? So that's one question. And I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Strachan.
Sorry?
Mr. Strachan?
Dean Strachan? Dina, you mentioned one item of particular concern that the hatchery has. Could you share the nature of that specific concern?
I'll answer the first part of the question, Dean, and then you can go to the specific. So the letter, which I mean, if council's in agreement, there's no reason not to post it. The letter is addressed to staff, so we were going to give the courtesy of setting up a meeting with the hatchery before it was made public, not to, I mean, every letter that we receive ultimately is part of the public record. There's never a letter that we receive that we don't want to make public. There's nothing, it doesn't have an opinion if they support it or it doesn't. It's a letter that states, here are the things we want to talk about, and here's what we need further clarification on. So we haven't yet, because we hadn't had this meeting yet, responded back to the organization and said, we would like to meet with you and talk further about this. And that's the only reason that it hasn't been made public yet, is more courtesy to them. So if council is okay with us putting the letter out, it's fine. When letters come specifically to staff, they haven't at this point in time been included in the ones that are getting posted in the council correspondence. But they will all be at public. So
Right.
I have no problem. And then
So
Dean,
is that a yes then?
council,
Okay.
we're going to finish answering the question, and then I'll get direction from council.
There wasn't one specific item. It was a list of sort of questions, technical questions about the previous reporting. So that's why we'd ask council to go and have that meeting, sort out exactly what these concerns are and what they mean, and then speak with the developer and determine if there's some components that can be addressed or not addressed. And then the intent of the resolution is then for us to report back to council in a public meeting with that information.
Okay.
So council, does anyone have an issue, so that what we were planning to do, if council had passed a motion that you did post today, is the next council meeting, in our usual format, we would have brought the letter, and we would have brought the discussion and what we had learned from the discussion and anything outstanding. But if you're not opposed to it, we can put that letter on the website tomorrow.
Councillor Barco?
I could imagine that there's an awful lot of correspondence between staff and
Absolutely.
various agencies, the society, the Fish Society, the provincial government, I don't know who all, but so do we put some of them up, or do we put all of them up, or what do we do?
That is exactly the discussion that we had today. We have that letter, but we have, by the time we're complete this process, you're right, we'll have hundreds of emails and letters and correspondence between various agencies. So that was discussion when it was almost done automatically by the person collating them today. And it was like, no, that is the same as any one of the other answers that we're going back and forth with. So that was our dilemma this morning.
Yes, Mr. Strachan.
And the process that we're now going to undertake as per council resolution will likely change that as well. So as we begin those discussions with them, there may be other concerns that come to light, or there may be changes. It's just the beginning of that process of working with them.
So their letter essentially raised some issues they want to discuss, and it doesn't necessarily mean there wouldn't be other aspects that they might want to discuss.
Certainly, and there may be information that's just additional information from the hydrologist that they require. At this point, we don't know.
I have no problem in posting it. It's just that, if it's premature in terms of freshwater fisheries information, that in terms of discussion and what may come from that, it may not be a good idea.
The,
But other than that, doesn't matter to me one way or another.
the risk that we're going to run is to say, you posted that one, but you got an email yesterday with a letter, because most of our correspondence is an email. I think that one came email as well. So it's when you post, we can't post every single thing that we're doing at all times. So that's the dilemma for staff. If it comes to staff on, before it goes through the whole process, when do we post it now, and when do we wait till a report comes to council?
So just to be clear, I'm just making a request for that letter from the Freshwater Fisheries Society, no other files at this point.
How does council feel, Councillor Trainer?
I'm fine for it to come out. I haven't seen it yet either. So I think that with the fish hatchery, there's just a little bit of mistrust right now with the developer because they sent out stuff that says there's no issue. So I think people just want to hear from themselves what, like, we haven't heard from the fish hatchery yet, none of us have. I know staff are working on that, but I think there's just a desire to hear information from them directly. And so anything that we can share, I think helps.
But provides clarity, that's fine with me. Yeah. Councillor Holmes?
I think as a courtesy, you should ask the fish hatchery if they're okay making that public, and because if they sent it intending it to be a private email, then all of a sudden it's not.
That's a good point.
It could undermine their trust.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know council's thoughts, but I think Councillor Holmes made a very good point that perhaps we should check with Freshwater Fisheries on their intent with the destination of the letter at this point. Is that okay?
Absolutely. If I could hear back through correspondence from staff, that'd be appreciated. I'll send you an email with my email address, if that's okay. And I have one short question now.
Yep, go ahead.
So the regional district, I understand, has an environmental tax that has just been approved. I'm not sure exactly what the name is. Just in reference to staff's comment about the Climate Action Committee and making sure that we keep those benefits within the community. I'm just curious about how is that tax partitioned amongst the various municipalities within the broader regional district that we get our sort of in quotes fair share?
We're talking CAREP, or are we talking?
No, you're talking about the new service that you approved.
The conservation fund, okay, that's a different issue.
Yeah, is there a mechanism that it's apportioned?
I think the way, if Councillor Boot may correct me, but I think it was a general agreement by the regional district to move forward with the conservation fund, believing that may be attributable to any part of the region, and that particular projects, it could easily come to Summerland and not go to somewhere else, a particular project. Like, basically that goes to large acquisitions of land, like they've done in the Kootenays very successfully.
Right.
So, part of the rationale for me even attending the regional district meetings is to understand the part we play in the regional district as a whole, that say a project down in Costin, for example, as a whole impact on the region could easily be beneficial to Summerland as being part of the region.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we're going to go for about another 10 minutes, and I think we'll have to call it, okay? Go ahead, please.
Eric Tate, Sully Road. Just to speak to Councillor Barkwell's point, to suggest that this letter should be lumped together with all of the other correspondence that you're receiving seems a little bit strange, given that the issue of the trout hatchery has been identified by staff as perhaps the #1 issue. I would say that would mean that correspondence from the trout hatchery is a little more important than a lot of the other material. And I agree with Councillor Holmes that perhaps they should be consulted before it's actually released. But I really think this is a horse of a different color. It's not just another piece of correspondence. It's something that's right at the heart of this whole issue for many of us. My other question has to do with the actual recommendation itself. And I just want to be clear about this. It says, if the issues and concerns with the hatchery can be addressed or resolved, and then the paragraph continues, where in the recommendation does it deal with if the issues cannot be resolved? Are we to assume that and I know, Mr. Mayor, you said something about this the other night, if they cannot be resolved, this whole application is off the table.
Can I speak to that?
Go ahead, yeah.
And that was the intent of bringing it separate, and that's what I spoke to council. They could get that information, and if they felt that that it couldn't satisfy what they felt would be adequate, that they could then proceed without any more information to a public hearing, but that they have to go to a public hearing now in order to do third read. They can't defeat it. They can't stop the application without doing a reading. So the next time that they'd be considering it would be at third reading. You can't do third reading without a public hearing. But they could say, geez, right now, we don't want to invest anything more. We're feeling like that this can't be resolved. We're going to move to public hearing and then consider third reading.
Okay, and two other short questions. First of all, I don't understand why you couldn't answer Councillor Booth's question that there's one road in. What's the problem with that?
Councillor, Mr. Strachan, please.
There's actually two access points to the subject development. It's linked through the building, through the parkade, but there is recommendations in the Watt report in regards to emergency access. So there's detailed engineered designs that need to be completed, and it's one of the items that's listed. It's not showing on the drawings right now, which took me some time to locate it, but it is listed as one of the requirements to be addressed through the detailed engineering if this project moves forward to the next phase on how do you address that issue.
And the last point, I think it was Councillor Carlson who talked about false signs. What did you mean? Somebody used the phrase false signs.
False signs?
Please explain what you mean by false signs.
Fake signs.
Oh, fake signs, I'm sorry.
I think that one of the biggest things in society right now is making sure that when we see facts, we take them we believe science and we believe fact. And I've seen some documents out in the public, specifically the one flyer that you see around town, and I don't think that we should take that flyer for its entire value because I don't think it's completely accurate. And so I think that it's important to recognize professional opinions and scientific opinions and make sure that when we make decisions, we're making them based on science.
Do you have the same reservations with the ICASA brochure that's out there?
Absolutely, and so I think that I'm not suggesting that I'm in favor, I'm opposed to this project at this point in time. What I'm saying is that we need to make sure that we're making a decision based on facts.
And I have no problem with that at all. However, I'd say that the website that you're referring to, Summerland is for Sensible, isn't science. It's an overview of many things, which includes some science.
Okay. Thank you. Next, please.
Rita Conacher. I live on Latimer as well. And my point is exactly to that. I just want to make everybody aware here that a lot of the residents that you were talking about and are talking here are professionals. You're talking about professional accountants or two. You're talking about engineers. You're talking to biologists. You're talking to geotechnical specialists. So they know what they're talking about. A lot of research has been done by Summerlanders. And so I don't think you take it as a grain of salt. I think that a lot of research has been done by these neighbors and the residents. And I would challenge that it's probably a lot more time than maybe you folks have spent on this development. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. We're not just passionate, we're also professional.
Thank you. Mr. Dronkers.
My name's Art Dronkers. I live in Lower Town as well, as many of the other speakers. With due respect, dear Council, dear Mayor, I'm confused about this data issue, and I really like to get clarity on behalf, I guess, of everybody sitting here, what it means when we say we need more data, and I'm sort of echoing a bit what Councillor Holm said tonight, is that, there's a philosophical side and there's a technical side. And I certainly have myself looked at every technical word on the municipal website. And I'd just like to, get a feeling for, well, what is it that we're waiting for? Now, if it's more information the council needs to digest, I can certainly understand that. You've been flooded with lots of stuff, and so that needs to be looked at, I guess. But is there anything else that we're missing?
Well, Mr. Drunkers, I think it's pretty clear tonight that we would like to have more discussions at actually the freshwater fisheries request that they meet with us, and we would like to discuss the particular issue around the hatchery and the supply of the water, et cetera, for them. So that's one of the reasons, we would move forward with more acute discussions, and why we've specified that at this point in time, it's the issues around the hatchery that concern us as well, and that's why we want to address them as we talk to the freshwater fisheries, as an example.
Yeah, so it's an information-related thing rather than expecting new reports in?
Well, that remains to be seen. We have to see what freshwater fisheries requests. If the freshwater fisheries requires a more detailed hydrological assessment, for example, then we would probably look at that as an option to seek more information. So I don't think we need to try and guess at what may be required, especially coming from freshwater fisheries. They are the key element in this, as you well know.
Oh, yeah, no.
So we're very
certainly
interested in
very
what they
clear.
have to say. So I think there may be more facts come forward as a result of discussions from freshwater fisheries, and I'd like to know what they are.
Yeah, and I guess I would kindly ask all of you then to share that with us,
Well,
because of
we've been
course-
sharing everything
No,
today.
I know, but
Yeah.
there was a question about the letter from the hatchery, which certainly I obviously haven't seen. But the first speaker was alluding to the fact that, that we're afraid a little bit that the process just dragged out too long maybe.
No,
The stress level
this
Oh,
of the
is
residents
a-
of Summerland is rising exponentially, and we
Mr.
just like to...
Dronkers, this is a large project. It
I know it
involves a lot of information, reports from various issues, various agencies, and a lot of considerations by staff as well as council. And it does take a certain amount of time to
No,
do it.
I
Any
recognize.
extra time that we're taking, in actual fact, is to try and address the consultations required, the information that we require to address the issue specifically and deeply enough to get answers that are good for the whole community. So I don't think that's a problem at all. If we were shortening this up, I could see you have a problem with, gee, we're not getting enough time for consultation.
Oh, yeah, no, I
We are
understand.
definitely not going in that direction.
I understand that.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to cut it off. Mr. Wilkie, you go ahead, and that'll be it, please, because we're now well past 15 minutes. We're over half an hour, as a matter of fact.
Thank you,
so-
Your Honor. It's Brian Wilkie. I live at Latimer and Solly. Just one question on this, the next
No.
Q&A session that had originally been scheduled for January 31st. Is there anything scheduled now? So that's...
Go ahead, CEO.
It wasn't originally scheduled, it was a recommendation
Yes, in
for,
this- in
right,
this, yes.
but council, from the motion they passed today, they're gonna consider that after they get the information
Okay,
about the
so-
fish
So
hatchery.
there's nothing scheduled right now?
Nothing scheduled.
All right. Thank you.
I'd just like to say one thing. I have so many questions, I don't even know where to start. So the fact that you've cut it off is probably going to save us about 3 hours.
Well, I hate to tell you, but I mean, we're trying to keep things as open as we can. Our agenda does say that we look at a certain time frame and certain number of questions. The fact that maybe people took 8 minutes or 6 minutes does affect the ability for other people to address council. So, that's
Mr.
what
Mayor
we've done.
or
Yes.
Robson, mine isn't relating to the development. As chairman of the Parkdale Place Housing Society, we have real concerns about the water cutoff. And
Right.
I want you to bear that in mind when you are shutting down the water for the next 3 days in March. We have 160 clients in those 3 homes, and I think it would be a catastrophe if we didn't supply them with some sort of water. Now, I know you've made provisions of some sort to look at Parkdale Lodge, Parkdale Manor, I understand, is not going to be supplied with water. And Angus is going to have some provisions to it, but I'm not sure as to what extent. So
Well,
I guess my question to you would be, how, can you keep us informed as to what?
Oh, we will. I think right from the outset when we first announced we were looking towards doing this project, it is a necessity that every effort will be made to communicate. And actually, one of the highest concerns I have is with the seniors' homes, because I have said a number of times to colleagues here that I'm quite concerned about a senior, perhaps older than you and I, or that may have difficulty with a bucket of water. And I don't want anybody to slip or have an accident related to this issue. So we're going to make every effort, perhaps with some of the service clubs, to assist us, however that may be. But we definitely want to make sure we look after our seniors in the seniors' homes. There's no question of that.
Yeah, my concern also was with Public Works. The weekend bust up at Summerland Seniors, what happened there? How long did that take? 3 days to fix?
It took, Chris left, but it was finding the leak that was the issue. It only took 15 minutes to fix once but they were looking for it, and they were on it the entire time. That was an unfortunate. I believe it was a day.
Yeah, I think it was resolved that evening.
Yeah.
No, I heard it went into today where they were going to put the water on.
They were looking for. They worked. It was not that long, and they worked on that nonstop. They did not stop at any point. They were looking for the leak the entire time.
Okay, thank you. Your worship.
Part of the problem, Orv, is of course, old infrastructure pipes, as you know, that have been in the ground perhaps 30 to 50 years, and a lot of stuff we do now, of course, is totally GPS. We know exactly where stuff is. So there's complications around very old pipes that may run into difficulties.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, I have a motion for adjournment. Oh, pardon me, the press. Go ahead.
This morning, at the Council of the Whole, there was the item on the agenda about the rescue boat.
Yes.
And I had anticipated that there would be a motion this evening to approve funds. Then obviously there's not, so I don't know what happened this morning.
This morning was just an information report provided by our fire chief, and there'll be a follow-up report coming to a regular council meeting. There was no resolution or recommendation made this morning.
So it was just the receipt from our fire chief?
Yes.
Yeah, it was just a report and a general discussion on what fireboat service, et cetera. And then it was, he will bring a report to a regular council meeting, probably next council meeting.
Thank you. John, anything at all? No. Okay, council, could I have a motion for adjournment, please? Councillor Booth, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Holmes? All in favor? Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.